All right, and we are live. Welcome, DoorGrow hackers, to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing your business and life, and you are open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management businesses and their owners. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth expert, Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. So today I am hanging out here with Tucker Cohen. Tucker, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Jason. That was fantastic. I for some reason I thought that was recorded. I didn't know you did that live.
I just say it, and each time, and sometimes I screw it up, even though I wrote it. So
that was perfect. Nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading it. Like I think I have it memorized. I probably do, but I read it because
nicely done,
I get nervous doing my own show sometimes. Sorry. So Tucker Cohen. So Tucker, tell us about. We're going to get into Breezeway, right? And our topic today is brand standards and rising expectations in the market. So why don't give us a little bit of background before we get into the topic at hand. Tell us a little bit about what is Breezeway, and maybe we can dig in more into that as we move through the topic, but tell us about Breezeway.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that we're able to reconnect since Orlando, probably like a month ago now. So super excited to be here. And so Breezeway, really what we're doing is, it's interesting. The topics are largely in line with what we're up to. I doubt that's much of a coincidence. But what Breezeway aims to do is allow property managers, like the ones you're talking about, ones who aren't afraid to adopt technology and go out on a limb and do something first, to meet those elevated brand standards at scale. And the way we're doing that is through leveraging automation, through leveraging mobile functionality for folks in the field who are helping maintain and care for your properties. And without getting too much into it, I'd say that we're really in line with that brand standard piece you mentioned.
Okay, cool. So I don't know what I just did to my webcam, but
I lost you.
I know my webcam just disappeared. Oh, here we are. I'm back. Hi, everybody. All right, so I need to stop screwing around trying to tweak everything because I'm a nerd. All right, so let's. I want to touch on this before we move on. But what problems does Breezeway really solve? So property management business owners struggling with what they would be really interested in having a conversation with you.
Yeah, fair enough. So I think, there's a number of different ways to answer that. With regards to the folks who I think are probably tuned in now, it's going to be more along the lines of when someone moves out or when someone checks out of one of your properties, be it long-term or short-term, you don't necessarily know the condition that the property was in when they got there. So with Breezeway, we have, a system of record for every single detail down to, the serial number of your appliance. But when someone checked in, and every item in the certain room or a certain part of the house that maybe often goes unnoticed, or you have an owner coming to check in. So I think just managing the chaos would probably be the best way to describe what we're helping folks with.
Now, so my initial gut reaction hearing this is that sounds like a lot of work of data entry and getting all these things in, just to go around to each unit and feed all this stuff in. So how do you deal with that sort of objection that people are probably, I'm sure it's come up. They're like, that sounds like a lot of time.
Totally. Listen, with any of this type of stuff, it's like you get what you put into it. So if you're willing to go through the due diligence up front and make sure that everything is set up right and you have all your property information in the system, then it pays dividends down the line, where you don't have to go digging through a Google Drive with hundreds of different files about your serial number on the microwave at property number 150, right? Like, that stuff is all there anyway. The only difference is it's just buried somewhere, whether it's in an email thread or a text chain with a cleaner or an inspector at your property or a maintenance guy. You have most of this information anyway. What we're doing is we're centralizing everything under one hood.
Got it. Okay. So now I'm going to read a little bit of the bio that we received when getting ready for the show.
Oh boy.
I want because I think it makes you guys sound pretty credible. So, and I want you guys to look really good. So Breezeway brings operations and service optimization software to the property management space, combining deep learning technology, robust property data, smart messaging, and mobile-first task management. We make it easy for managers to deliver the best experience to guests, tenants, and owners. We are serving a global customer base across a broad set of verticals, including short-term vacation managers, residential property managers, cleaning and maintenance providers, hospitality operators. This was created by the founder of Flipkey, which was acquired by TripAdvisor. The Breezeway team is using 75 plus years of industry experience to build the future of property care. And so, what you're working on is you are directly over the sales team. You're building the sales team inside of there, inside that. And this says, having scaled companies from Series A to unicorn status in the past. What does that mean? Explain that to me.
So that's, of course, like software, privately held software company jargon right there.
Yes.
But basically what that means is, a company that's pre-Series A, like us here at Breezeway, means we've raised a very small round of money. And, in the future, we may raise a Series A, which is more of like an initial investment, proper venture capital raise. And then all the way up to unicorn status, which is commonly referred to in Silicon Valley as $1 billion valuation for the company.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So let's get into the topic at hand. So brand standards and rising expectations in the market.
I thought you were going to grill me on that elevator pitch.
No, do you want me to?
I don't know if you want to. I thought that's why you read it. I was ready. I know Ben's listening and he's like loving that.
So I'm not going to grill you on it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I mean, it sounds like you guys are primed for growth. It sounds like you guys have a really cool technology in place that's going to do some stuff for property managers to help them systemize the business. I think you could have answered my question better in saying that it's going to help them save time in the long run, right? Is the bottom line. So there's some time that it takes to get this stuff set up initially, but it's going to save you the hassle of all this time in the long run. So overall, it's not costing you time. Yeah, and I think there you go. Okay.
Back on that again, like most folks are already doing a lot of this stuff anyway.
Yeah. They're just doing it poorly.
I mean, again, you said it, not me.
Most things in most businesses. All right. I get to see on the inside of hundreds of companies. And everything's shiny on the outside. It could be shinier. We can help you with that, by the way, property managers. It could be shinier on the outside, but the challenge is on the inside. It's like the whited sepulcher they talk about in the Bible. Like how's everything going? Oh, it's great, but they're drowning. Like and that's businesses on Instagram. Everything looks pretty and is great, but really business is tough. Being an entrepreneur is tough. And the inside of companies can be tough. A smart entrepreneur I spoke with today on a sales call, he said, what's your internal organization like? Like, how do you run your own business? So I just started telling him, because us entrepreneurs, we know what it's like to run a company, and it feels like herding cats. Sometimes it feels like chaos, and wrapping some constraints around that and moving the business forward towards scale and towards growth takes work. And and so you help manage some of the herding of the cats. So
there you go. Yeah,
information wise.
To that point, it's such an interesting timing. I actually just started listening to this other podcast called Under the Waterline. Have you heard of that one?
No, but the under the waterline, like
Yeah,
drowning.
it's pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
right? But it's like all about what you're saying. It's just like, everybody tells the story. When a company goes well, everybody, all you hear is the above the waterline
Oh yeah.
take, right? Which is clean and beautiful and nothing ever went wrong. And I'm drawing a blank on the host. I only listened to a couple episodes so far.
Okay.
Worth checking out. He digs in, he interviews with entrepreneurs and talks about, tell me the honest take, like what happened here? How did you do this? And was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly? Right. So like really digging in on that under the waterline sort of grit that it takes to successfully build a company like you're talking about.
Yeah. I've made all kinds of mistakes. I jokingly tell people that DoorGrow's been built on thousands of failures. I mean, really. I mean, I did a conference back in November, and some of the listeners were probably at this conference. We had like 150 attendees. This was our inaugural event. It was like phenomenal. We had amazing food. We had great speakers. The thing was, here's the dirty secret about doing that conference. People are like, why aren't you doing it again this year? Okay, so I thought it'd be this great thing. I'm like, our business is healthy. We're doing about $1 million in revenue. We've had 300% growth. So then, like, let's do a conference this year.
Why not?
So yeah. So here's the thing about starting a conference. Like, and the property managers can compare this to going into, if they're in residential, going into commercial, or deciding to start in a new market, or deciding to do associations, or whatever it might be. It's some sort of expansion, and they think this will be easy, right? We'll do this other thing. Right. This other thing was like starting a whole new company, because what does a conference need? It's everything a business needs: sales, marketing, branding, positioning, like lots and lots of organization, everything that a business needs. It was like starting another company. Guess how much growth we had the year that we were doing a conference? No growth. We had no growth for a year. We were healthy-ish, but we weren't growing. Ironically, our company's called DoorGrow, but it was because we were distracted, because everything had to go towards this conference. And once you decide to do a conference, you're all in.
Right.
Like, you're on the hook with the hotel. You're like, you've got vendors, people are sold tickets. There's no going back. There's lots of companies have gone bankrupt just for doing a conference. And I was like, how's that possible? Nah, we're cooler than that, right? Not me, no, right? That's every business owner starting a company. Well, I'll be better than all those other property management businesses. They all suck, but that won't be me. I hear that all the time. Oh, I'm starting a property management business because all the other companies in my market suck. I hear that every week. Oh, okay. And they won't be that one, right? They won't be that one.
Likely story. And that's really, I mean, what you're talking about too, Jason, is just like spending your time efficiently and effectively. And if you are a small shop, you can't really afford to necessarily make mistakes like that with where you're allocating your time. And in your case, it was a conference that did it, and you did it, you pulled it off. But someone who, like you're saying, is
everybody loved it. Everybody's like, it was so great, and I didn't love it. It was super stressful, just like, because I'm somewhat introverted. I'm kind of an ambivert, but that situation was like incredibly uncomfortable for me. And then because it was just so much pressure, and but it went off well. Everybody had great feedback, but it cost me $2 million in opportunity cost.
Right, that's the
easily.
If your growth,
$2 million.
No ROI there.
So I could do a conference that cost tons of money, kind of broke even, sort of a thing. Like, because the conference probably cost 120 grand, maybe, just to throw. Because we did everything great, right? But but the opportunity cost and the fact that my team were all focused on it and everything else instead of on the main thing. And I think as entrepreneurs, we need to remember in our business, the main thing is the main thing. Like, if your business needs sales and revenue, then that's what you need to focus on, right? You otherwise you end up with a sales slump, and then you're scrambling, right? So the main thing has to stay the main thing in the business. And that was a huge lesson that I got from that. I got to make sure the main thing is always stays the main thing.
Right.
And we entrepreneurs, we're always tempted by opportunity, and there's always distraction. There's always new options and opportunity and distraction, whether it's expanding into a new market as a property manager or something. Like keeping focused is power. So, all right. So tell me, what are brand standards? Rising expectations. Let's get into this.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hot take on brand standards.
Okay. What is
Not
it?
really. I think it's a pretty lukewarm take. I think it's pretty straightforward, but it's really like, this is what
Okay.
your expectation is, like there's this sociological theory, which is like, there's three versions of you. There's you as you see yourself, there's you as other people see you, and there's the version of you that you think other people see as you, right? So it's like,
okay.
Your projection of what people's perception is, right? And that's
Yeah.
really like, that's I mean, it's one thing from a personal standpoint, but from a business standpoint, like, you actually can control that in a lot of ways, right? And that's what we're talking about with brand standards. Like, hey, you have expectations as an entrepreneur, as a CEO of your own company. You expect things to be done a certain way. Like, how do you make sure that the people who you're trusting to impact your business, whether it's someone, taking photos of your property for a posting, for listing, or cleaning your property, or inspecting your property before someone checks in or moves in, those people are extensions of your brand, and you're effectively trusting them to meet those standards. And a lot of times you don't necessarily have insight into that, but I think maybe that was a hot take.
Yeah. So I think, and I'll add to that. I mean, branding's one of the main things that we help property management businesses with. I consider myself a branding expert. This is something that I've dealt with in helping clean up the branding for hundreds of property management companies. We've helped some vendors even recently. We helped clean up Virtually Incredible's branding. We helped clean up their new logo. It was designed by my team. And I had some great conversation with Todd Breen on helping him focus on the main gateway that was feeding his business, recognize that other things were back-end products that came later in the sales cycle, instead of putting out the message that he did everything.
Right.
Which one feeds the business? And I think property managers need to recognize that too. Property management is often the front-end gateway product, even if they also do real estate.
Right.
It works more effectively usually that way. And I think they need to focus on that. But a lot of property management businesses in the branding are real estate companies, which scares off the people that want a specialist.
Right.
They want a specialist to manage their biggest investment ever.
Right.
And so I've helped double some property management businesses' real estate revenue commissions by eliminating real estate from their branding, ironically. Because once the property management side is healthy, it's what's feeding them the majority of the revenue.
That's all the relationship
that's coming into that. So I think we need, it goes back again to focus. We can tie this back in, but it goes back again to focus that in order to deal with people's expectations, and in order to manage the perception of your business, I think the key is that you need to align it towards what starts the process, not towards everything that you do.
Right.
I mean, imagine somebody that's, so I'm dating now, right? And so imagine that you're in the process of dating, and you're going out and you're like, you just vomit everything about yourself and that you do. Like, like you can't do that. It's like, what? No, you got to start with, okay, where's their interest level at? Well, let's start in that space first, right? Oh, you're into music? Me too, right? So you have to start somewhere. There has to be a beginning. And same thing with our businesses. There has to be a beginning, because that's what you're doing. You're trying to create a relationship, and you can parallel this to dating, but you're not going to show up and try to make out with them on the front porch as soon as you meet them. And that's what people try to do in sales a lot of times. They just vomit everything right on their lap, and they're in a state of overwhelm, and they're like, okay, that's a bit much, buddy. So I think you need to start. I think also with branding, transparency is so huge. So you said something that's just like, I sort of felt anxious just hearing you talk about, like the expectations of like with yourself and with others, and then what you think others are perceiving. And it's like, that can be such a big head game that people get caught up in. They're like, oh my gosh, like how are people perceiving me? Am I okay? Do they like me? Or am I being right for them? Am I doing this? And I think ultimately, as we get older, we just learn to just not give a F. I'm trying to keep this one somewhat PG, guys, but you don't care as much because I think you become more confident. You love yourself, you like yourself. And I think when your business is confident, when you're confident in your business and you're confident your business can deliver, you come from a greater space of in which you can be the prize that the client is trying to get, instead of thinking that they're the prize. This is called pricing in sales, right? And I think it happens when you're transparent, because transparency creates safety, it creates trust. You don't have to try and be something. The problem is a lot of times the brand is not in alignment with what's on the back end, what's on the inside.
Right.
It's not in alignment with the business owner.
Listen, that brings up two great points. I think one is, like you say, in your personal life, you grow up and you're just like, yeah, I don't really care. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. What we're talking about here is, unfortunately, a place where we don't have that sort of luxury, right? We're talking about the rising expectations that are taking place across every element of property management, and then the brand standards
due to increases in technology, due to like people have iPhones,
right?
And if they have iPhones, they expect more. They're
right.
Like, it just works,
reviews, right? Like, it's one thing to say like, yeah, this is who I am, take it or leave it. But if it's your business, and you say that and you provide a bad experience, that's what I think branding really comes down to, is the experience that your client ends up having when they engage with you, be it at the very beginning of your relationship or throughout the entire, the lion's share of it, all the way to the end.
Yeah, let's go back to the dating analogy. If I'm like overweight and I'm not getting my hair cut and I'm not brushing my teeth and I just grow my beard down to my ankles, like, and I just say, screw everybody else. This is how I am. Take it or leave it. Right. Well, that's cool. I will only attract people that are interested in that. And that might not be what I'm interested in. So great question to ask is, so here's the thing. I love this question, but am I the person that the person I want to, match with or attract into my life or into my business? Am I the person that they would be interested in? Am I at that level?
Right.
If not, I either need to lower my expectations or I need to make some changes.
Right.
It's really, right.
You either come down to earth or you level up. Yeah, that's it.
Right. I need to get in touch with reality, or I need to make, either way, I need to get in touch with reality, right? I need to make some changes. And so a great question that I've had several coaches I've seen throw out, or coaches I've worked with ask is who do I have to become in order to be that person? Who do I have to become? What would it take? Who do you as a property management business owner have to become in order to have the type of business that you want? Because here's the thing. One of my coaches said, if you don't have the business yet that you dream of, you're not yet the person that can run it yet.
That's meta.
That's meta, right? So that's really simple. Like, if you don't have the business that you dream of, you feel like it's not right and you're frustrated with your team and whatever, you're not the person yet that can create that.
It's totally true.
You haven't, but we always want to, as entrepreneurs, it's so easy for us to externalize all of that. Right. I get so many people come to me and they're like, they want to focus on their website. They want to focus on lead gen. They want to like blame their team, and everything's external. The ironic thing is that I found is, if I can get them to focus on themselves and get clarity on who they are and what really makes them feel alive and in momentum as an entrepreneur, and they get really clear on their purpose, and then we align the brand, the business, everything around that, everything changes. The website's going to end up changing. Their messaging is going to end up changing. Their sales process changes. They fire some of their team members. Their team members change. Like, everything changes in a business once the business owner, the entrepreneur at the helm, who is the sun at the center of the solar system, changes. Everything has to change by default. But what's incredibly costly, crazy and painful is to focus on trying to change everything externally without changing yourself, which is really kind of creating all of it.
You know Jocko Willink, the ex-Navy SEAL?
Yeah. He's written some good books.
I don't think he would have liked the fact that it just said Navy SEAL. I'm pretty sure he's a Marine, but he's got the book Extreme Ownership.
I think he is a Navy SEAL.
Okay, maybe I'm just faltering here.
Okay.
But that's his whole thing is extreme ownership. He's like, if something's not working out, it's your fault. Like, you got to take some ownership, but that's not the team's fault. The team's following your lead. You're the leader.
Yeah. So I'll share an example. So I was talking with somebody, and they were complaining about all these different people that had come into their life. They were complaining about this guy and that guy and this. And I said, hey, there's one common denominator among all of this, right? There's one commonality, because they were like, I don't know how much, all these people are so different. I said, there's one thing in common. You, right? That's the one thing in common, right? And the most dangerous thing in the world, property managers know this if they've been in business a while. One of the biggest red flags for a property manager is if somebody comes to them and says they're with an existing manager, or they just fired their last manager and they're complaining about their previous managers. Oh, right. This company was terrible, and the dumb property manager would listen to all of that and they would say, oh yeah, they're terrible. We'll be way better. The correct property manager would say, okay, well, maybe it's this person, so I better ask some really good questions before I take them on, because I might be the next company that's on their shit list that's getting attacked on online reviews and negative, and I'm the next person that's going to be there. I don't want to be that, right? That's a red flag. Another red flag is if somebody's referring a client to you. Hey, we can't really help them. You should handle, like, I teach my clients to do that, like to refer the clients they don't like to somebody else. But that's, and I'm sharing this transparently, everybody. If somebody's referring a client to you, it could mean that they're like a terrible client and they don't like them. Sometimes though, it may just mean they're not a fit. One man's junk is another man's treasure when it comes to property management. Some people can deal with that difficult investor, and others can't.
Either way,
some difficult investors can be changed to good ones just by setting a real strong fence and a boundary that some managers aren't capable of doing. That's all they wanted in the beginning. They just wanted safety.
That's
and
it.
The other manager couldn't create it. So, all right.
The takeaway there: do your homework always.
Yeah.
Larry David has a good episode on that. Don't get foisted.
Foisted? I don't know this term.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
All right. I'll avoid getting foisted after I watch this episode.
Tough referral.
Perfect. So I think also, one way to also deal, expectations do tend to rise, but sometimes expectations are artificially wrong. I saw a post from one of my buddies who's in the restaurant industry today, and this girl wrote this note on a receipt saying, I'm not giving you a tip because I'm only a few days away from my 21st birthday and you wouldn't allow me to have alcohol. So no tip for their whole party, right? From the whole party of food, right? This just shows the entitlement that exists in some people. And it's, that's ridiculous. And so sometimes you have to, some people's expectations are unrealistic. Right. And you can, I don't think it's too much for somebody to provide good service, but, to break the law for somebody so that they can have alcohol because, hey, my birthday is only a few days away. Come on. Right.
That's an unrealistic expectation at its finest.
As long as it's in the past. Yeah. So some expectations are not manageable, and it's not possible for us to raise to that level, of their expectation, because it's without foundation. It's a pie in the sky. It's a pipe dream. It's not realistic. And so now I think the challenge with property managers is there's some things that they think this is just status quo. This is how we've done it. This is how it is. It's just hard this way. And they think everything else is pie in the sky or fluffy and not possible. And so they exclude themselves from making those changes. It's kind of like the guy that's like, oh, all girls are just difficult. I'm just going to sit on my couch and eat Cheetos all day. Like, it's just, it's just they only want a rich guy, or they only want whatever, and they just choose out, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
in business, it's the same thing. We can just choose out.
Well, it's an all-encompassing saying for every situation you could think of is if nothing changes, then nothing changes.
Right. I've also heard it said, if you want dramatically different results, or if you want dramatic change, it requires dramatic change.
There you go. Case in point. And then, of course, another bit of jargon, a rising tide lifts all
Raises
ships.
all ships.
That's it. And
I think I've touched on that one on the show before. A rising tide can raise all ships if the tide's already high enough. But I think the challenge in property management is that the tide is all the way down in some areas. It's low. There are some property management businesses with holes in them like you wouldn't believe, and they're sitting on gravel or sand. They're there. A rising tide is going to sink some ships in this industry. No question.
That's it.
And they need to sink, because it's going to help the entire industry. There are property management businesses that should not be in business, or they're going to have to patch up some holes and make things work better.
And I think to that point, Jason, it's really the ones who are going to sit back and say, this is the way we've always done it, or this is status quo. Because frankly, like at the end of the day, the customer have all the power, and they're the ones that can make or break your business with one bad review at the end of the day. So
let's apply this to Breezeway.
Natural selection, I think. You're right.
Let's apply this to Breezeway. So Breezeway, what are some of the challenges you deal with in selling your services to property managers? Some of the things that you'll typically hear from them.
That's probably, that's a really straightforward one, is a status quo, right? Like, yeah, well, this is the way we've always done it. It's not that big of a headache for us now. Or, we don't think we would use it that much, or what we talked about before, it might be too much work up front. And it's okay. Some people aren't ready for change, but, we stand by the fact that like ultimately everyone will move towards an operations tool like Breezeway, if not Breezeway. And so, in most cases, when people say no, they come back. And we believe that's going to continue to happen as this tide continues to rise and the expectations continue to rise. And if you don't have high brand standards, you don't get to be a brand anymore, because like you said, the ship sinks, right? If you can't meet the customer's expectation, you're probably not going to have any customers for much longer. So yeah, I think, status quo. And like we said, this isn't stuff that people aren't doing already. In a lot of cases, they're just running around and managing chaos in order to effectively do it. And what Breezeway allows them to do is both automate as well as ensure that it's actually happening in a way that they hope it will, right? Meeting those brand standards.
So can you share, maybe you've got customers, right?
Yeah, we have some.
Yeah. Okay. So good. That's good. Me too. All right. So could you share maybe an example, a case study, or at least maybe even like some sort of typical situation that you've seen where they've gone from not doing it, struggling, not using Breezeway, to implementing your services, and what sort of results they've been able to achieve as a result?
Yeah, so I think without naming any specific clients, another big piece of pushback that we receive is I don't know if my service providers will actually use this, which is fair. Okay. Generally, considering the fact that like service providers aren't tech savvy, what have you. But one of our clients down south, they were able to effectively roll this out to their service network, and each one of those service providers now uses our app to download all of their checklists offline. And before, there was no good way for them to do that. And so they can download the apps all offline. And, they had pulled them and said, hey, would you want to go back to the old way, which was email, paper and pen, checklist, right? They're coming into the office. Hey, here's your assignment for the day, or emailing them out to some of the further ones. Yeah. And then they had to submit them all back manually with all the photos attached. And they're like, absolutely not. Of course, why would I ever want to go back to the old way? So, but bit of an anecdotal story there about sort of some of those challenges that we're seeing at the onset of conversations all being overcome, and Breezeway being in a spot where they know no other way now.
So for those that are looking at using Breezeway, there's a lot of tools that a lot of property managers probably shouldn't even touch until they're maybe about 50 to 100 units. They can't even entertain the idea. They don't have cash flow. They're not ready to use a service. If they're a solopreneur, maybe. At what stage do you feel like Breezeway can be implemented in a business? Where do they need to be roughly in terms of door count, size? Who do you guys generally work with?
Yeah, good question. I think it is on a case-by-case basis to some extent, because some entrepreneurs, like you're saying, have higher bandwidth for stress, and they can deal with some of those chaotic nuances that go into managing a higher door count, as opposed to someone like me, who I like to ensure as much automation as possible so I don't let things slip through the cracks in the first place.
Right.
The sooner I can automate, the better. And then as I scale, I have that process in place. So typical door count, from a short-term perspective, we'll work with folks in the 50 to 100 range, but all the way down to 5 doors too. Like, again,
really?
Folks like me who like to just automate as much as possible. And then in the longer term world, we're talking about the same sort of range, only on the higher scale. So 50 all the way up to 500 and 1,000 doors.
Okay, so they can get started with you guys at any point. You guys don't have like a 100-door minimum or 200-door minimum or anything like this. Okay.
No, we're not turning people away just yet, Jason.
Right. Okay. I do, but I'm picky, but I'm just kidding. All right. So Tucker, this is really cool. It sounds like the future. It sounds like technology. Does Breezeway integrate with any platforms? There's so many different tools in property management. I think a lot of people listening to my show nowadays are like, oh gosh, Jason just shared another stupid tool that I'm going to have to figure out how to plug into my business that I really want. And they've got this to-do list of tools they want to add and implement. How difficult is it to get started with Breezeway? And is there any concern about connection or integration or any of this kind of thing that is really significant?
Yeah, I don't think, I understand why people get concerned with this type of thing. Of course, when you're ever, introducing new technology, there's always concern, especially because folks, like you said, they've been burned in the past, right? Like, another one of these things I have to do. But Breezeway, we're really aimed to be a connected system. So from a long-term standpoint, we're working with the folks of the likes of Rent Manager and other folks like them. And then short-term, all the 20 plus of the biggest PMS systems out there. But really, like, our goal by the end of this year and the coming year, 2020, we're going to just be, one of the most connected systems out there, whether it's, your remote locks of the world, all the way to, your Streamlines and your Rent Managers of the world as well.
Got it. So, okay.
Does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. So it sounds great. So now people listening might get confused and think, was Breezeway a complementary tool to maintenance coordination tools, or is it a replacement for these type of tools where we'd have maybe easy repair hotline and property meld and Latchel and these kind of services?
Wow, that's a loaded question, Jason. I knew you were going to come at me with that. Listen, here's the biggest
thing. It's an obvious question.
It is an obvious question.
I'm just asking what I know my clients are going to be like. What is this? How does it fit in the overall mix?
It's true. Listen, like I'm saying before, we want to play nicely with anybody who's out there. So we're not going to go ahead and say yes, we're a direct competitor for these folks. The other thing is we do a handful of the same stuff. So, be hard pressed to be using one of them for maintenance and then using Breezeway for cleaning and inspections and not using us for maintenance, right? There's a three-legged stool with regards to where Breezeway plays in the operations world. And really our aim is to supplement the PMS, regardless of which one it is. We want to integrate with them. And then, if they're using something else for maintenance, that's fine too.
Well, explain the three legs. What are they? Just for people that are a little bit lost.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a big analogy guy. So the three legs are going to
We'll
be,
take the analogy into reality here. So
here's reality, right? So you have your cleaning, your
yeah,
inspection, and your maintenance. Those are the three legs, we believe, of property care and operations.
got it. Okay, cool. So what other questions might somebody what other frequently asked questions do people have when they're approaching you for interest in Breezeway? Or any other questions that we haven't covered?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it runs the gamut, right? Like we're creating a new category to speak of, property
Yeah.
operations, which it's really something that people haven't heard of, and we're excited about it. So, like, the main question is probably what is property operations, and it's just what I'm talking about, right? It's really thinking about not just managing a property, but actually caring for it and taking into consideration preventative maintenance and safety measures, all that stuff like rolled into one in a way that you can do it as hands off as possible.
All right, perfect. Okay. So Tucker, I think we've talked about brand standards. We've talked about rising expectations in the industry. We've talked about Breezeway. How can people get in touch with Breezeway? How can they find out more if they want to get in touch and they're interested?
Yep, absolutely. So we are breezeway.io online, www.breezeway.io. If you would like to check out our integrations page, it's very simple, /integrations. If you would like to meet with me, you can send me an email, tucker@breezeway.io, at CorpoTuck on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Tucker F. Cohen. I know a lot of folks are on Facebook. I'm thinking about getting on there. But yeah, that's about it. Happy to field any questions now. It looks like we're getting some coming in on the chat.
Yeah, so we can touch on that. So we've got, is this available for homeowners or just landlords and property managers?
So yeah, I mean, listen, right now it is primarily for landlords and property managers, but we do see a world where longer term this will be being used by homeowners in the connected home sort of Internet of Things world of the future that we sort of see everything sliding towards.
Yeah. Okay. So someday Breezeway may know whether my Roomba has done its job or not.
Exactly. Your Roomba will be automatically scheduled by Breezeway.
All right. All right. So Tucker, it's been great having you on. Everybody check out, it's breezeway.io, right? It's the website, and check it out. And I appreciate you coming on the DoorGrow show.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jason. This was great. Glad we made it happen.
I'll let you go. All right. I'll let you go. All right. So there you have it. Check out breezeway.io. I'm always curious to hear your feedback on this. So make sure you guys are inside the DoorGrow Club Facebook group. This is our community for all those DoorGrow hackers out there, property management business owners, entrepreneurs. You can get to that by going to doorgrowclub.com, and that will take you to the Facebook group. So answer all the questions and we'll let you in if you're a property management entrepreneur, right? So get inside that group, and as always, share. I'd love to hear feedback on what you thought about, what you think about different tools, different things that you're using. Ask questions to other people. Inside the Facebook group, we'll give you some free gifts when you join that group, including a fee Bible of fees that you can tack on to your property management business. We have a list of really cool tools and vendors in there. You will get an email drip if you provide your email when you join the group, and we will be giving you gifts as to help you grow your property management business. And eventually you'll be able to learn a little bit more about what we do at DoorGrow. So make sure you get inside that group if you're not in our community. There's amazing people in there. They're helpful, and they align with my vision of, creating collaboration over competition. That's what this industry needs right now. And until next time, everybody, to our mutual growth. Bye, everyone.